Emma Rodriguez wiped the sweat from her forehead as she finished cleaning the last table at the small downtown cafe where she worked her morning shift. Her phone buzzed insistently in her apron pocket, and she saw her best friend Chloe's name flashing on the screen. "Emma, thank God you answered." Chloe's voice was breathless with panic. "I need the biggest favor of my life. Please tell me you're free tonight." Emma glanced at the clock. She had exactly 3 hours before her evening shift at the bookstore. "What's wrong? You sound terrible." "I am terrible. I'm supposed to cater this exclusive dinner party tonight for Wellington Elite Catering, and I just came down with the worst food poisoning ever. I can barely stand up, let alone cook for 12 people. Emma sank into one of the cafe chairs, already sensing where this conversation was heading. "Chloe, I'm not a professional caterer. I just cook for fun, but you're amazing at it. Remember that dinner party you threw for your birthday? Everyone still talks about those lamb chops. Emma, this client pays more for one evening than I make in 2 months. If I cancel, I'll lose my job, and you know how hard it was for me to get into Wellington Elite." The desperation in her friend's voice made Emma's heart ache. Chloe had worked 3 jobs to afford culinary school, and this catering position was her dream job. What exactly would I need to do? "The menu is already planned, and all the ingredients are being delivered to the client's place at 4. You just need to prepare and serve a 7-course dinner for 12 guests. I'll text you all the recipes and instructions." "Emma, I'm literally begging you." Emma closed her eyes, thinking about her own struggles. She'd been trying to save money to open her own small restaurant someday, working double shifts and living on instant noodles. The pay Chloe mentioned would cover her rent for 3 months. "Okay," she heard herself saying, "but you owe me big time. You're saving my life. The address is 1247 Skyline Drive, penthouse level. Ask for Mr. Cross." "Emma, this guy is seriously wealthy, so just be professional and everything will be fine." Preparing for the unknown, after ending her cafe shift early, Emma rushed home to her tiny apartment to shower and change. She chose her most professional-looking black dress and tied her long dark hair into a neat bun. Looking in the mirror, she practiced her best smile, trying to calm the butterflies in her stomach. The ingredients arrived at her apartment exactly at 4, along with a note containing the evening's menu and detailed instructions in Chloe's handwriting. Emma's eyes widened as she read through the sophisticated dishes: truffle risotto, a seared duck breast with cherry reduction, chocolate soufflé with gold leaf garnish. This was far more complex than anything she'd ever attempted. She loaded everything into her small car and drove toward the upscale district she rarely visited. The buildings grew taller and more imposing as she climbed the winding roads leading to Skyline Drive. Entering a different world, the building at 1247 Skyline Drive was a gleaming tower of glass and steel that seemed to pierce the clouds. Parked in the underground garage, feeling completely out of place, among the luxury cars that probably cost more than she'd earn in a lifetime, the elevator ride to the penthouse felt endless. Emma clutched the bags of ingredients, reviewing the recipes one more time. The doors opened directly into the most beautiful apartment she'd ever seen. Floor 2 ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the entire city. The interior was decorated in warm neutrals with touches of gold, featuring artwork that looked like it belonged in a museum. Everything spoke of understated elegance and immense wealth. "You must be from Wellington Elite," a deep voice said behind her. Emma turned around and felt her breath catch in her throat. The man standing before her was nothing like she'd expected. He appeared to be in his mid-30s, with dark hair that was slightly tousled and warm brown eyes that seemed to see right through her. He wore a simple white button-down shirt and dark jeans, but something about the way he carried himself suggested power and confidence. "Yes, I'm Emma. I'm filling in for Chloe tonight," she managed to say, hoping her voice sounded steadier than she felt. "Nathaniel Cross," he said, extending his hand. When their fingers touched, Emma felt an unexpected jolt of electricity. "I hope Chloe is all right." She mentioned she wasn't feeling well. "Food poisoning," Emma explained, trying to ignore the way his hand had lingered in hers. "She'll be fine in a day or 2. The kitchen revelation. Nathaniel led her to the kitchen, which was more spacious and better equipped than most restaurant kitchens Emma had worked in. Marble countertops stretched along custom cabinets, and professional-grade appliances gleamed under perfect lighting. "This is incredible," Emma breathed, running her hand along the smooth marble surface. "I don't cook much myself," Nathaniel admitted with a slight smile, "but I believe in having the right tools available." As Emma began unpacking the ingredients, she couldn't help but notice how Nathaniel lingered in the kitchen instead of leaving her to work alone. Most wealthy clients, she imagined, would disappear until dinner was ready. "How long have you been catering?" he asked, settling onto one of the bar stools across from where she worked. Emma's hands paused as she arranged the vegetables. She couldn't lie, but she also couldn't admit this was her first professional catering job. "Not long," she said carefully. "I'm still learning. What did you do before?" "I work at a cafe during the day and a bookstore in the evenings." Emma found herself being more honest than she'd intended. "Cooking is my passion, but it doesn't pay the bills yet." Something in Nathaniel's expression shifted, becoming more interested. "What kind of food do you love to cook?" Emma's face lit up as she began preparing the first course. "Comfort food with a twist. I love taking simple homey dishes and elevating them with unexpected ingredients or techniques. Food should tell a story and make people feel something." "That's beautiful," Nathaniel said softly, and Emma looked up to find him watching her with an intensity that made her cheeks warm. The unexpected truth as Emma worked. Nathaniel continued to chat with her, asking about her dreams and sharing stories. About his travels, she found herself laughing at his jokes and feeling increasingly comfortable in his presence. He was nothing like the cold, distant, wealthy man she'd imagined. When she checked the time, Emma realized she'd been cooking for 2 hours and no other guests had arrived. "What time are your guests expected?" "Yes," she asked while stirring the risotto. Nathaniel was quiet for a moment. "Actually, there are no other guests tonight." Emma's spoon stopped moving. "What do you mean?" "May have misled the catering company. This dinner is just for me. I've been working 18-hour days for months, and I wanted to enjoy a proper meal in good company for once." He ran his hand through his hair, looking almost embarrassed. "I know it sounds ridiculous to hire a caterer for one person, but eating alone in restaurants gets old." Emma stared at him, processing this information. "So I've been cooking a 7-course meal for just the two of us?" "If you're willing to join me," Nathaniel said hopefully. "I'd hate for you to go through all this work and not enjoy it yourself." On a moment of connection, Emma felt her heart racing. This was completely outside anything she'd ever experienced. She was supposed to be the hired help, but Nathaniel was treating her like an honored guest. "I should probably just serve the food and leave," she said uncertainly. "Please stay," Nathaniel said, his voice sincere. "I haven't had a real conversation with someone in months. Everyone in my world wants something from me, but you're just genuinely kind." Emma looked into his eyes and saw something that surprised her: loneliness. Despite all his wealth and success, Nathaniel Cross seemed as isolated as she sometimes felt in her small apartment. "Okay," she heard herself saying, "but only if you help me plate everything." His smile was radiant. The first course they worked together to plate the truffle risotto, their hands occasionally brushing as they reached for the same garnish or adjusted a detail. Each accidental touch sent sparks through Emma's entire body. When they sat down at the elegant dining table, Emma felt like she was living in a dream. The city lights twinkled below them through the massive windows, and Nathaniel had lit candles. That cast a warm glow over everything. "This is incredible," Nathaniel said after his first bite. "You're incredibly talented." Emma blushed, unused to such direct praise. "Thank you. I've never cooked anything this fancy before." "Really? You seem so natural with it." "I watch a lot of cooking shows," Emma admitted with a laugh, "and I experiment a lot in my tiny kitchen." They talked throughout the first course about food, about travel, about books. Emma discovered that despite his wealth, Nathaniel was surprisingly down-to-earth and well-read. He listened to her opinions with genuine interest and shared his own thoughts without any hint of condescension. The revelation as Emma cleared the first course plates. Nathaniel caught her hand gently. "Emma, can I ask you something?" She nodded, her pulse quickening at his touch. "Are you happy with your life right now?" The question caught her off guard. "That's quite personal for someone I just met." "No, but there's something about you that makes me want to know everything." You have this light in your eyes when you talk about cooking, but I see sadness there too. Emma sat back down, still holding his hand without realizing it. I'm working toward my dreams, but sometimes it feels impossible. Do you know what it's like to want something so badly, but feel like it's always just out of reach? More than you might think, Nathaniel said quietly. Success doesn't automatically equal happiness. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, both lost in thought. Emma realized that despite their vastly different circumstances, they shared a similar sense of searching for something more meaningful. I should get the next course ready, Emma said finally, reluctantly pulling her hand away. Let me help, Nathaniel insisted, following her back to the kitchen, as they prepared the duck breast together. Emma couldn't help but notice how natural this felt. Nathaniel was attentive and helpful, following her instructions without any ego about taking direction from someone he was paying. You're not what I expected, Emma said as they worked. What did you expect? Someone colder, more demanding. Someone who would treat the help like furniture. Nathaniel paused in his task of reducing the cherry sauce. Is that really how you see yourself? As the help? Emma considered this. Tonight. Technically, yes. Well, I don't see you that way at all, Nathaniel said firmly. I see you as someone remarkable who happens to be sharing her incredible talent with me. The sincerity in his voice made Emma's heart flutter. She was beginning to realize that this evening was becoming something far more significant than a simple catering job. As they prepared to serve the second course, both of them seemed to sense that they were crossing into uncharted territory, where the normal rules and expectations no longer applied. The night was still young, and Emma had no idea how dramatically. Her life was about to change, as they returned to the dining table with the perfectly seared duck breast. Emma found herself studying Nathaniel's profile in the candlelight. There was something magnetic about the way he moved, confident yet gentle, powerful yet approachable. She'd never met anyone who could make her feel so comfortable while simultaneously making her heart race. Tell me about your restaurant dream, Nathaniel said as they began eating. What would it look like? Emma's eyes lit up with passion, something small and intimate. Maybe 20 tables at most. I'd want it to feel like people were dining in a friend's home, but with food that surprises them. Local ingredients, seasonal, menus, dishes that tell stories about the community. That sounds perfect, Nathaniel said, his voice warm with genuine interest. Have you found a location? Emma's expression dimmed slightly. I'm still saving for the deposit. Real estate in this city is expensive. Banks aren't exactly eager to loan money to someone with 2 part-time jobs and big dreams. The best. Dreams usually seem impossible at first, Nathaniel said thoughtfully. I started my first company in my college dorm room with $300 and a laptop that barely worked. Emma nearly choked on her wine. Your first company? You do exactly, Nathaniel smiled sheepishly. I develop software solutions for sustainable energy. My company helps optimize power grids to integrate renewable sources more efficiently. That sounds incredibly complex and important, Emma said, impressed despite herself. It is, but it's also isolating. I spend most of my time in boardrooms or staring at computer screens. I haven't had a real conversation with someone about dreams and passions in months. The kitchen dances, they prepared the third course together. Delicate seafood biskima became acutely aware of how small the kitchen felt, with both of them moving around each other. Every time Nathaniel reached past her for an ingredient, she caught a hint of his cologne, something clean and expensive that made her dizzy. You're a natural at this, Emma said, as she watched him expertly dice shallots. I may have taken a few cooking classes over the years, he admitted with a grin. Though I've never had such an inspiring teacher. Their eyes met across the marble island, and Emma felt the air between them crackle with electricity. She was acutely aware that she was alone in this beautiful penthouse with a man who was not only incredibly attractive, but also kind, intelligent, and genuinely interested in her dreams. Emma, Nathaniel said softly, setting down his knife and moving closer to her. I need to be honest about something. Her heart hammered against her ribs. What is it? I knew there were no other guests when I hired the catering company. Been eating alone for months? When I saw Chloe's portfolio and read about the personalized service Wellington Elite offers, I thought maybe I could have one evening of genuine human connection. Emma stared at him, processing this revelation. So this was all planned? The dinner was planned? But this, he gestured between them. This connection we have, I never expected this. You've turned what I thought would be a pleasant evening into something extraordinary. The truth about loneliness, Emma turned back to stirring the bisque, her mind racing. I don't understand. You're successful, wealthy, handsome. How can you be lonely? Nathaniel leaned against the counter beside her, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from his body. Money doesn't buy authentic relationships. Most people who spend time with me want something, a business deal, an investment, an introduction to someone else. I can't remember the last time someone asked me what I dream about, or laughed at my jokes because they actually found them funny, not because they want to impress me. Emma looked up at him, seeing vulnerability in his brown eyes that made her chest tighten. That sounds incredibly lonely. It is. But tonight, with you, I feel like myself again. Not Nathaniel Cross, the CEO, just Nathaniel, who enjoys cooking and good conversation. The bisque was ready, but neither of them moved to serve it. They stood facing each other in the warm kitchen light, the city sparkling beyond the windows, both aware that something profound was happening between them. This is crazy, Emma whispered. I'm supposed to be working. You're working, Nathaniel said with a soft smile. You're helping me remember what it feels like to be human. The fourth course, confession over the seafood bisque, their conversation, grew more intimate. Emma found herself sharing stories about her childhood. Her parents, who had worked multiple jobs to support her dreams of culinary school. Her fears about never being successful enough to make them proud. They must already be proud, Nathaniel said firmly. Look at what you've accomplished. You're working toward your dreams while supporting yourself completely independently. It takes incredible strength. Some days I wonder if I'm just fooling myself, Emma admitted. Maybe I should be more practical, find a stable office job, give up on the restaurant dream. Please don't, Nathaniel said, with such intensity that Emma looked up in surprise. The world needs people who chase beauty and meaning. Your passion for cooking, for creating experiences that bring people joy, that's rare and precious. Emma felt tears prick her eyes at the sincerity in his voice. No one had ever spoken about her dreams with such respect and understanding. What about you? She asked. Do you ever think about giving up the corporate world for something simpler? Nathaniel was quiet for a long moment. Every day. I got into sustainable energy because I wanted to help save the planet, but somewhere along the way it became about market share and profit margins. I missed the passion I used to feel. The fifth course, dances. They prepared the lamb course. Nathaniel put on soft jazz music, and their movements in the kitchen became almost like a dance. Emma would reach for spices while he stirred the sauce. Their bodies moving in perfect synchronization, as if they'd been cooking together for years. You know, Nathaniel said as he watched Emma artfully arrange the lamb with roasted vegetables. I haven't felt this relaxed in months. You seem pretty relaxed to me, Emma replied, then blushed as she realized how that sounded. I mean emotionally relaxed. Usually I'm thinking about the next meeting, the next deal, the next problem to solve. But tonight, all I can think about is how beautiful you look when you're concentrating, and how much I don't want this evening to end. Emma's hands stilled on the plate she was garnishing. Nathaniel, I know this is complicated, he said, moving to stand behind her, close enough that she could feel his breath on her neck. I know we come from different worlds, but I can't pretend I don't feel something incredible happening between us. Emma turned in his arms, finding herself chest to chest with him. I feel it too, she whispered, but I don't know what it means, or where it could possibly lead. Maybe we don't need to figure that out tonight, Nathaniel said, his hands coming up to cup her face gently. Maybe we can just be honest about what we're feeling in this moment. The almost kiss, they stood frozen. In that moment, both aware they were about to cross a line that would change everything. Emma could see her reflection in Nathaniel's dark eyes, could feel the pull between them like gravity, just as he began to lean down toward her. The timer for the lamb went off, breaking the spell. They jumped apart, both breathing hard, the kitchen suddenly feeling charged with unspoken possibilities. "The lamb," Emma said breathlessly. "Right, the lamb," Nathaniel agreed, though his eyes never left her face. They served the fifth course in a state of heightened awareness, every accidental brush of fingers as they passed dishes sending electricity through both of them. The conversation during dinner was more stilted now, both of them acutely aware of what had almost happened in the kitchen, the sixth course truth over the cheese course. Nathaniel finally addressed the elephant in the room. "Emma, I need you to know that tonight isn't some game for me. I don't make a habit of trying to seduce the catering staff." Emma nearly laughed at the absurdity of it all. "Should hope not, though I'm not exactly the catering staff either. I'm just a girl who needed the money and wanted to help her friend." "You're not just anything," Nathaniel said seriously. "You're extraordinary. You're talented, intelligent, kind, beautiful. You've reminded me what it feels like to want something beyond the next quarterly report." "What do you want?" Emma asked softly. "You," he said without hesitation. "I want to know everything about you. I want to hear about your dreams every day and help make them come true. I want to cook with you and laugh with you and figure out if this incredible connection we have is as real as it feels." Emma's heart was pounding, so hard she was sure he could hear it. "Nathaniel, I don't even know your last name until tonight. This is all happening so fast." "I know. But sometimes the most important things happen quickly. I felt more alive in the past 4 hours with you than I have in the past 4 years." The final course decision as they prepared the chocolate soufflé. For dessert, both of them were quiet, lost in their own thoughts. Emma kept stealing glances at Nathaniel, trying to process everything that had happened. This morning she'd been a struggling chef working double shifts. Tonight she was in a penthouse kitchen with a man who looked at her like she was the most fascinating person in the world. "The soufflé needs to bake for exactly 15 minutes, Emma said, closing the oven door. "Ah! What happens if we open it too early?" Nathaniel asked. "It collapses. All that careful preparation and one moment of impatience ruins everything." They looked at each other, both understanding the metaphor wasn't really about dessert. "I don't want to ruin this," Nathaniel said quietly. "Whatever this is between us, I don't want to rush it and watch it collapse." Moved closer to him. "Her decision made? Then let's be patient. Let's see if this feeling survives outside of this perfect evening." Nathaniel's smile was radiant. "Does that mean you're willing to try? To see where this leads?" "I'm terrified," Emma admitted. "Yes, I want to try." As if drawn by invisible strings, they moved closer together until Emma was in his arms again. This time, no timer interrupted them. Nathaniel's lips met hers in a kiss that was gentle and passionate and perfect, tasting of wine and possibility, and the promise of something beautiful beginning. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. The soufflé," Emma whispered against his lips. "Can wait another minute," Nathaniel murmured, kissing her again. But eventually they had to break apart to rescue their dessert. The soufflé was perfect, light and airy and sweet, just like the moment they were sharing, as they sat at the candlelit table, sharing spoonfuls of chocolate heaven. Emma realized that her life had just taken a turn she could never have imagined when she woke up that morning. Emma woke up the next morning in her tiny apartment, wondering if the entire evening had been an elaborate dream. The only evidence it had really happened was the text message waiting on her phone from an unknown number. "Thank you for the most perfect evening of my life. Can I see you again tonight, Nathaniel?" Her heart fluttered as she typed back. "I'd like that, but maybe somewhere less fancy. I want to show you my world too." Response came immediately. "I'd love nothing more." "Name the place," Emma suggested. Her favorite coffee shop in her neighborhood, a tiny place with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. It was about as far from his penthouse as possible, but if they were going to explore this connection, she needed to know if he could be comfortable in her reality too. The coffee shop test that afternoon. Emma arrived at Brew and Bean 15 minutes early, nervously adjusting her simple sundress and wondering if she'd made a mistake. How would Nathaniel fit into this world of struggling artists and students? When he walked through the door, she had her answer. Despite wearing jeans and a casual button-down that probably cost more than her monthly grocery budget, he looked completely out of place. Every head in the coffee shop turned to stare at him, and Emma saw several people whisper to each other. But when Nathaniel spotted her in the corner booth, his face lit up with such genuine joy that all her doubts evaporated. He didn't seem to notice the stares as he made his way over to her. "Hi," he said softly, sliding into the booth across from her. "Hi yourself," Emma replied, suddenly shy in the daylight. "This place is perfect," Nathaniel said, looking around at the eclectic decor. "It feels like you." "Warm and slightly chaotic," Emma teased. "Authentic and full of character," he corrected, reaching across the table to take her hand. Meeting the real world over coffee and Emma's favorite blueberry scones. They talked about their lives outside of the magical bubble they'd created the night before. Emma told him about her jobs, her tiny apartment, her student loan debt. Nathaniel listened without judgment, asking thoughtful questions about her daily routine and her goals. "I have to ask," Emma said, as they prepared to leave. "Last night, was that typical for you, hiring caterers just to have company?" Nathaniel looked embarrassed. "No, never. I don't know what came over me. I'd been working 16-hour days for weeks, and I just felt so isolated. It was an impulse decision that turned out to be the best mistake of my life." As they walked through Emma's neighborhood, she pointed out her favorite bookstore, the cafe, where she worked mornings, the small community garden where she sometimes volunteered. Nathaniel absorbed it all with genuine interest, stopping to pet a neighbor's dog and complimenting the street murals with sincere appreciation. "Your world is beautiful," he told her as they paused outside her apartment building. "It feels real in a way mine doesn't." "What do you mean?" "In my world, everything is perfectly curated, strategically planned. But this," he gestured around them, "this has soul." The first challenge, their budding relationship, faced its first test 3 days later when Nathaniel had to attend a charity gala for his company. He asked Emma to be his date, and despite her protests that she had nothing appropriate to wear, he insisted she belonged by his side. The dress shopping experience was overwhelming. Nathaniel took her to a boutique where the saleswoman looked at Emma's jeans and t-shirt with barely concealed disdain. When Nathaniel mentioned price wasn't a concern, the woman's attitude changed completely, but Emma felt uncomfortable with the obvious falseness. "I don't belong in this world," Emma whispered to Nathaniel, as they looked at gowns that cost more than she made in 6 months. "You belong wherever you want to be," he said firmly. "But if this makes you uncomfortable, we don't have to go." Emma saw how important the event was to him and agreed to attend. The midnight blue gown they chose was simple but elegant, and when Nathaniel saw her in it, the look in his eyes made her feel like the most beautiful woman alive. The gala revelation. The charity gala was held in a ballroom that looked like something from a fairy tale. Emma felt like she was playing dress-up as Nathaniel introduced her to business associates, politicians, and society figures. Most people were polite but clearly curious about who she was and where she'd come from. "She's lovely," Emma overheard one woman say to another, "but do you think it's serious? She seems so ordinary." The comment stung more than Emma wanted to admit. She excused herself to the ladies' room and was reapplying lipstick when a stunning blonde woman approached her.
"Oh."
"You must be Emma," the woman said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm Victoria Ashford. Nathaniel and I have known each other for years." Emma recognized the name Victoria was from one of the city's oldest families and had been featured in society magazines alongside Nathaniel multiple times.
"Nice to meet you. I hope you don't mind some friendly advice," Victoria continued.
Her tone anything but friendly. Nathaniel goes through phases. Last year it was that environmental activist. The year before it was an artist. Likes to play savior for a while, but he always comes back to his real world eventually. The words hit Emma like a physical blow, but she managed to keep her expression neutral. "Thank you for your concern." "I'm not trying to be cruel," Victoria said, though her smirk suggested otherwise. "I just hate to see nice girls get hurt when they mistake charity for love." Emma returned to the ballroom with Victoria's words echoing in her head. She watched Nathaniel work the room, confident and charismatic in his expensive tuxedo, and wondered if this was all just a phase for him. Was she just another project? Another way for him to feel good about himself. When a photographer approached them for pictures, Emma forced a smile, but Nathaniel immediately sensed something was wrong. "What happened?" he asked, pulling her aside. "Just a reality check," Emma said, trying to keep her voice light. "From Victoria." Nathaniel's jaw tightened. "What did she say to you?" "It doesn't matter. She's probably right anyway." "Emma, look at me." Nathaniel took her hands, oblivious to the curious stares they were attracting. "Whatever she said, it's not true. What we have isn't charity or a phase or any other ridiculous thing people might say, isn't it?" Emma challenged. "Be honest, Nathaniel. How many struggling artists have you dated? How many projects have you taken on to make yourself feel better?" "About your privileged life?" The hurt that flashed across his face made Emma immediately regret her words, but she couldn't take them back. "Is that really what you think of me?" he asked quietly, before Emma could answer. Someone approached to congratulate Nathaniel on his company's latest acquisition, and the moment was lost in small talk and business discussions. The breaking point. Car ride back to Emma's apartment was silent and tense. When they pulled up outside her building, Emma turned to face him. "I can't do this," she said quietly. "Can't do what?" "This U.S. I don't fit in your world, Nathaniel. Tonight proved that." One cruel comment from a jealous woman proved nothing. "Except that some people are small-minded," Nathaniel said fiercely. "Emma, please don't let them win. It's not about winning or losing. It's about reality. We live in completely different universes. You take $1,000 dresses, shopping trips, and I clip coupons for groceries. You attend charity galas, and I work double shifts just to pay rent. Money doesn't matter to me," Nathaniel insisted. "It's easy to say when you've never worried about making rent," Emma shot back, then immediately hated herself for the bitterness in her voice. They sat in painful silence for a moment, before Emma opened the car door. "Thank you for a lovely evening. Thank you for reminding me what it feels like to dream beyond my circumstances. But this is where it ends." She walked away before he could respond, not trusting herself not to turn back if he called her name. Separation for 2 weeks, Emma threw herself into work, picking up extra shifts and trying to forget about dark eyes and gentle hands in the way. Nathaniel had looked at her like she was precious. She deleted his number from her phone and avoided the upscale part of town where she might accidentally run into him. Chloe, who had recovered from her food poisoning, was furious when she found out what had happened. "You're an idiot," she declared. "Over coffee at Brew and Bean. That man was clearly crazy about you." "He was infatuated with the idea of me," Emma corrected. "There's a difference, is there? Because from what you've told me, he treated you with nothing but respect and genuine interest." Emma stirred her coffee absently. Victoria was right. I was just a phase. Victoria Ashford is a bitter woman who's been trying to land Nathaniel Cross for years. Of course she'd try to sabotage any competition, but Emma had made up her mind. It was better to end things now before she got any more attached. Before the inevitable heartbreak when he moved on to someone more suitable, the grand gesture on a Thursday evening 3 weeks after the gala, Emma was closing up the bookstore when a delivery truck pulled up outside. She watched in confusion as workers began unloading professional kitchen equipment, industrial ovens, commercial refrigerators, restaurant-quality prep stations. "Excuse me," she called out to the delivery supervisor. "I think you have the wrong address, Emma Rodriguez," the man asked, consulting his clipboard. "Yes, but I didn't order any of this. It says here it's a gift. There's a note." Emma's hands shook as she opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with Nathaniel's handwriting. "For the restaurant of your dreams. Space next door is available for lease, and I've taken the liberty of covering the first year's rent. This isn't charity. It's an investment in someone I believe in. Even if you never want to see me again, please don't let pride stop you from accepting your dreams. You deserve everything beautiful in this world." And Emma looked through the bookstore window and saw that the empty retail space next door had a lease sign in the window. Her heart pounded as she realized what Nathaniel had done. The choice, that night. Emma sat in her apartment surrounded by lease agreements, equipment warranties, and business licenses. Nathaniel had not only paid for a year's rent, but had also handled all the legal paperwork to transfer everything into her name. It was the most generous gift anyone had ever given her. and also the most complicated. Her phone rang, and she saw Nathaniel's name on the caller ID. She'd been expecting this call. Emma, his voice was cautious. Did you get the delivery? Can't just buy me a restaurant, Nathaniel? Not buying you anything. The equipment is yours regardless of what happens between us. The lease is in your name. Not trying to control you or buy your affection. I just want you to have the chance to chase your dreams. Emma closed her eyes, tears streaming down her cheeks. Why would you do this? Because 3 weeks ago, you told me that some days you wonder if you should give up on your restaurant dream. Because you deserve to see what you're capable of when you're not worried about money. Because I love you. And even if you don't love me back, I want you to be happy. The words hung in the air between them. Love. He'd said it so simply, like it was an obvious fact rather than a earth-shattering declaration. Nathaniel, Emma whispered. I know you think we're too different, he continued. I know tonight scared you. But Emma, love isn't about matching bank accounts or social status. It's about finding someone who makes you want to be better. Someone who sees the best in you, even when you can't see it yourself. You do that for me? The resolution Emma made her decision, standing in the empty restaurant space at midnight, surrounded by gleaming new equipment and infinite possibilities. She called Nathaniel, her heart hammering as the phone rang. Are you okay? I'm standing in my restaurant, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Your restaurant. Accepting the gift. But I have conditions. Anything. I pay you back. Every penny. It might take years, but I pay you back. Emma, you don't need to. Yes, I do. If we're going to try this, we do it as equals. I won't be your charity case or your project. And what else? Nathaniel asked softly. You have to promise me something. Promise me this isn't a phase. Promise me you're not going to get bored and move on to the next struggling artist who needs rescuing, Emma. Nathaniel's voice was fierce with conviction. Promise you this isn't a phase. What I feel for you isn't pity or curiosity or some savior complex. It's love. Real, terrifying, life-changing love. I love you too, Emma whispered, finally admitting what she'd been trying to deny for weeks. Oh, I've been in love with you since. That first night when you helped me cook and listened to me talk about my dreams like they mattered, they do matter. They matter, we matter. The new beginning 6 months later, Emma's restaurant, Saffron and Stories, opened to rave reviews. The intimate space with its mismatched vintage, furniture and locally sourced menu was exactly what Emma had dreamed of, a place where food told stories and every meal felt like dining with friends. Nathaniel was there on opening night, not as the wealthy benefactor, but as the proud boyfriend who had become Emma's partner in every sense of the word. He'd scaled back his work schedule and started spending more time in Emma's world, volunteering at the community garden and becoming a regular at Brew and Bean. Emma had insisted on living in her own apartment and paying her own bills, determined to maintain her independence. But 3 nights a week, Nathaniel cooked dinner in her tiny kitchen, and 2 nights a week, she stayed at his penthouse, bringing warmth and laughter to the pristine space. You know, Emma said as they cleaned up, after the restaurant's first successful service, I never thanked you properly for that night you hired the caterer. You mean the night I hired you under false pretenses? Nathaniel grinned, pulling her into his arms. The night you reminded me that fairy tales can happen to ordinary girls, Emma corrected, standing on tiptoe to kiss him.
There's nothing ordinary
about you, Emma Rodriguez, Nathaniel murmured against her lips. You're extraordinary, and I'm the luckiest man alive that you decided to take a chance on us. As they kissed in the warm light of Emma's dream restaurant, surrounded by the lingering aromas of their successful opening night, both of them knew they'd found something rare and precious, a love that had started with a favor and grown into a lifetime of possibilities. Outside, the city sparkled with lights and promise. But inside Saffron and Stories, Emma and Nathaniel had created their own perfect world, where different backgrounds and bank accounts mattered less than the love they'd built together, one shared meal at a time. The end.